Deep Space Nine is back. This week on Star Trek Lower Decks, the crew are venturing back to the legendary space station and doorway to the Gamma Quadrant. Seriously, this episode is like a love child between the Next Generation and Deep Space Nine, simply due to the amount of references to the series in the episode, which one would expect. Spoiler warning, this will be an episode review of Star Trek Lower Decks Episode 6, so we're discussing this week's episode in full detail. You've been warned, turn away now. Welcome to Trek Central, I'm your host Captain Jack, let's get straight into it. Episode 6 is titled Hear All, Trust Nothing, which is actually a reference to the 190th Ferengi Rule of Acquisition, or Ferengi Rules of Acquisition. You know, personally my favourite is War is good for business, which is countered by Peace is also good for business. You gotta pick and choose them. The 6th episode of Season 3 is written by Grace Parajani and directed by Bill Mark Saraga. Hopefully I've not butchered those names, but evil, let live. Great work, guys. Before we walk further into this video review, if you want to keep up to date on all the latest Star Trek news, lore and more, then make sure to hit that subscribe button to never, and I stress never, miss a video from the team here at Trek Central. You can also follow us on social media for daily updates on the Star Trek universe. But as always, please let us know your thoughts in the comment section below, because if you're talking about Star Trek, we want to hear about it. Oh, a quick message by the way. Some of you may have seen our episode 5 review of Lower Decks is not available on YouTube. This is because Paramount's aggressive copyright ID system, otherwise known as CID on YouTube, keeps copywriting our video review. We've made over 5 changes to the video right now, but unfortunately cannot upload it. Compared to other media giants like Disney, HBO, Warner Bros and things like that, uploading Star Trek reviews is extremely difficult, particularly on Paramount properties. Other YouTubers such as the Angry Joe Show have all seen issues of this on Halo as well, another Paramount product. Will we try and get episode 5 online? We will. If not, we'll try and upload it to the website and hopefully that counters Paramount CID. It's mainly an issue of over-aggressiveness of copyright materials. Yes, they completely have the right to administer copyright on their content. However, reviews are now the backbone of a lot of online media, therefore it should be allowed on there with a few creative differences, particularly when fair use is concerned. But that's an argument for another day. I just wanted to put you in the picture there, and hopefully we can continue bringing you these great Star Trek reviews, as I know some of you appreciate them. If you've understood my message here and support what we're talking about, do let me know in the comments, because I'd love to see some support and know you guys appreciate it. Okay, with that out of the way, engage. So we've been anticipating this episode for some time now. Return to Deep Space Nine is something that Trekkies have been looking forward to for ages. While it's not in live action, animation is our next best thing in our opinion. However, does the episode give us all the DS9 goodness that we've been expecting? Yes. From having Nana Vista back as Colonel Kira Nerys and Armin Shimmerman as Quark, there are little references here, there and everywhere. This episode breathes life back into the space station of Deep Space Nine. One of the species who's more noticeable is the one which is somewhat important to the Dominion War story from the series. We'll discuss these later. Oh, how can I not forget the biggest cameo of them all, the Chatterbox which is more on his back. So you can hardly watch this episode of him speaking every 5 minutes. That is a joke, by the way, for those who don't get those jokes. Just checking. The opening to episode 6 is also fantastic. Not technically a cold open like we're used to, but equally taking the mick out of Deep Space Nine and ships going around the pylons. That mix of the original theme to the series just makes a laugh of the episode straight out of the gate. Also, can we appreciate how epic the station looks in animated form? The wormhole as well, also looking extra crisp. If we can describe a wormhole as that. You get what I mean. Now, looking at the episode as a whole, it does contain some of the good qualities we've associated with Lower Decks. You've got your typical A plot of Captain Freeman running around doing an important mission, a B plot of Ensign Tendi and Ensign Rutherford, and then a C plot of Ensign Boimler gambling, with Ensign Mariner trying to negotiate a partner's friendship. All in a day's work, right? Okay, so spending time with Colonel Kira Nerys again was fantastic. We've also got the original actress, Nana Vista, back voicing the animated form of her character. The details on Kira are great. As we can tell, she has aged ever so slightly since we last saw Deep Space Nine. She now appears to be in total command of the station, which is under Bajoran jurisdiction, though she does keep Captain Benjamin Sisko's iconic baseball still on the desk. Establishing a relationship with Shax is something I did not expect, but really should have seen it coming. It makes total sense that Shax fought in the Cardassian occupation of Bajor and would have been alongside Kira. Makes you wonder what a live action version of that would actually be like. Well, we know we're getting live action Lower Decks via Strange New World Season 2, but wow, that would be interesting. Of course, you can't visit Deep Space Nine without visiting Quarks. Armin Shimmerman reprises his role and provides the voice of the animated version of a Quark. We can see the Ferengi entrepreneur has expanded business, with a gift shop on the station. Oh, by the way, the gift shop is also selling a model of Deep Space Nine that was featured in the second season episode of Lower Decks. Other items in the Quark store includes Ferengi Lobes, a Quark plushie, and more random items. All I'm saying is maybe if Paramount had better merchandising solutions, selling the Quark plushie would be fantastic. Come on now guys, do we really need the Starship is landing when we can have Quarks? Quarks also expand into 21 franchises across the Star Trek galaxy, it seems. All this following the Dominion War. Man works fast. Now typically, the sort of crux of this episode is revolving around Quark getting himself in trouble by stealing technology. Though considering his previous relationship with the Kaminar, we'll discuss them in a moment. It does make sense in my opinion. Now Mrs. Quark, we should have expected something. But in typical Deep Space Nine fashion, he does get shafted by the deal at the end of the episode. Sadly, it does make you think of Odo just sitting around and staring at him, or laughing gruffly and walking off, but we're not going to get that anytime soon. Marina's story was essentially a side quest in this episode, but it makes sense, given she previously visited Deep Space Nine sometime in her past before coming aboard the Cerritos. This was revealed in previous episodes of Lower Decks. However, initially Tawny Newsom was not going to be properly present in this episode as Ensign Mariner. Showrunner Mike McCann had a different idea in mind for the character, while the crew were venturing around on the station. Newsom apparently called up Mike on Zoom and gave him some strong words on the story direction, due to Deep Space Nine being her favourite series of Star Trek. She's good taste, I'm just saying. McMahon would then change the script based off her feedback, and therefore he rewrote the ending of the episode. Speaking of the ending, it worked really well for Mariner to have those interactions on the station. I did like her side quest at times. We've all been in situations where you think you have to act differently around someone else's friends, especially when it comes to a partner. You don't want to embarrass them, yourself, or mess up any future relationships. But at the end of the day, you've just got to be yourself. That's what Jennifer communicates to Mariner, and works really well. The episode also spends more time focusing on their relationship, something which I really like how Lower Decks is developing within the Star Trek universe. Sometimes relationships can feel forced on screen, but I like how this is just being treated as a casual thing. It's not forcing it down our throats like some other media out there. The species which Captain Freeman is tasked with negotiating trade is a species we've also previously seen in Star Trek Deep Space Nine. The Karamar were a known species in the Gamma Quadrant who first made contact with the Ferengi in 2370. Quark himself had business dealings with members of the species, but they played an important role in the Federation and crew of the USS Defiant locating and contacting the founders of the Dominion. Here we see them coming back to open trade negotiations with the Federation, following the Dominion War. It's not clear what happened to the species during the war, but it seems that they are also surprised by the Alpha Quadrant Alliance defeating the founders and the Dominion, so take that how you will. A nice detail in this episode is that the Karaman starship is the same model used in Deep Space Nine's episode, Starship Down, one of my favourite episodes of the whole series. You know, I like Tendy's storyline in this episode. It's something we knew Lower Decks would need to deal with at some point. People have this idea of what Orions are like. Mainly they think the entire species is just being about space pirates and members of the Orion Syndicate, so slave masters as well. Tendy also dealt with this in another episode of the series when she's working with Mariner. However, here she's dealing with a member of her own species. But Tendy losing her temper is something we've all been before, I think. You know when you get that one annoying person who won't take the hint and drop the subject. Yeah, you all know who I mean. Mesk as an Orion seemed to be a total fake by the end of the episode, even faking because he wasn't from the home planet of Orion, claiming he only knew about the species from a holonovel, or the ways of the species should I say. My favourite moment here is Tendy going full pirate mode and saving the day by stopping the Karamanar's ship, going through the wormhole. You know, it does make me wonder if a USS Defiant could have came by and saved the day. In fact, where was the ship? Shouldn't it be docked at the station? Well, I guess if the station is no longer under Starfleet jurisdiction, the ship would not be stationed there. But where is the Defiant? Overall, this episode of Star Trek Lower Decks worked really well. It's a step up from previous episodes in the third season. However, part of me thinks this might be due to the fact we're being treated to the appearance of Deep Space Nine. If you take away the legacy cast cameos and the station itself, this episode might not have worked very well. Obviously that's because you ripped out part of the story, but that's far from the point. Of course, many Trekkies have been asking for a return to the station for some time now, even more so with the return of many Star Trek legends to the big live-action screen, such as Jean-Luc Picard and the cast of The Next Generation. While this isn't live-action, we have returned. Only 2 main cameos from the cast take place, and really, could any more have actually happened? At the end of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, most of the crew left the station. Benjamin Sisko vanished into the wormhole, Chief O'Brien departed back to Earth with his family, Odo returned to the Gamma Quadrant, and Worf departed to become the Klingon ambassador to the Federation. Now that only left Dr. Julian Bashir, Esri Dax, and Garrick of course. Well actually, no, he remained on Cardassian to help rebuild. Regardless, the details in this episode were fantastic, even the small ones, such as the sounds of the series, the iconic door sounds, alarms, and even more associated with Deep Space Nine. Overall, a top quality episode of Star Trek Lower Decks. I'm very much looking forward to the upcoming episodes of the third season, so stick around for those reviews. So what did you think of the episode of Star Trek Lower Decks? Has it satisfied your need for more Star Trek content, particularly Deep Space Nine content? Or like myself, are you wishing for a live-action return in the Star Trek universe of DS9? If you want to keep up to date on all the latest Star Trek news, lore, and more, make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central. You can also follow us on social media or join our community Discord server. But for now, I've been Captain Jack, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week. Live long and prosper, my friends.